Hi everyone, back to Evermore YouTube channel. It's Chris back with the aftermath. This is the show we do when the dust has settled from the instant post-match reaction to Newcastle United's latest game, which usually in the coming weeks gone by has been quite a disappointing one, but not this one. No, I'm still excited. I'm still positive. I'm still buzzing after Newcastle United's 2-1 victory over Manchester City at St James's Park yesterday. What an unbelievable performance from the lads, from Eddie, from everybody involved. A brilliant performance and some real key performances from individual players returning to the starting 11 as well, which I'm going to get stuck right into right now. Now, for me, we've called this one Identity Found. Now, for a long time now, certainly this season, we've all been asking, what is Newcastle United's identity? It used to be intensity was our identity. We used to press teams high. We used to make them unsettled. We used to win the ball back with power, with pace, with intensity. And that's just seemed to have been disappearing from Newcastle's game this season. You're out of the Champions League, where we've actually put in some good performances. In the Premier League, we've done pretty much nothing in terms of winning the ball back and being intense. We've been about as intense as a wet fart on a cold day, really. But what we did yesterday was the total opposite of that. Now, Eddie Howe talked about time to work with the squad, time to think about things, time to assess things, time to readdress things, even with players who weren't there. They were planning for life with players who weren't there to come back and then just put them through this rigorous, intense, training session prior to the City game with the likes of Nick Voltemade, Bruno Guimaraes, those kind of players. And it really paid off yesterday. But for me, the biggest shift in momentum yesterday was the re-inclusion of both Tino Livramento and Lewis Hall in the right back and left back positions. Now, this is no slight on Kieran Trippier or Dan Burn whatsoever. Both of these players have been magnificent servants for Newcastle United since they signed for the club. Certainly the takeover era, you'd argue to find better pound-for-pound signings than these two in all of the players that were brought in the last 4 years. But the truth of the matter is, one of them's 35 and the other one's 33, and he's not a left-back. He's a centre-half shoehorned in as a left-back because he'll play anywhere, and that's testament to Dan Burn's character. But what we lose when those two are playing there is exactly what we gained yesterday with Tino Livramento and Lewis Hall being back in the side. Their inclusion in that team just unlocked the wingers' potential because it pushed everybody further up the park about 10 yards. Nick Voltemade looked more engaged in the game because he didn't have to come so deep to win the ball because the wingers were up high, because the fullbacks were up high as well. Tino Livramento, excellent defensively and offensively. Lewis Hall on the ball is incredible, man. That rhymes, doesn't it? What a great rhyme it is, and what a great player he is. Some of the little movements, shifting at the hips, dinking inside and out of players. What an unbelievable fullback, left back this kid is. He's got to be a shoe-in even. Sorry, for the World Cup. As Dan Burns the shoehorn. Lewis Hall's a shoe-in. He's got to be a shoe-in for the World Cup squad if he's fit when that decision is made by Thomas Tuchel. But what I loved about certainly Lewis Hall on that left-hand side was it enabled Harvey Barnes just to concentrate on what Harvey Barnes does best, and that is just be an attacking threat, pick up great positions, run at players in key areas, commit them, and then get his shot off. And he's clinical as fuck, Harvey Barnes. I said this when Alexander Isak was here. He's possibly one of the most clinical finishers at the club. He's such a clever player. And you could see that from all the chances that he had, even the ones that he fluffed. He's in the right place at the right time, more than not, Harvey Barnes. But when he's got to come back and try and defend, which isn't his natural game, I know Eddie Howe wants everybody to come back and defend in some capacity, and I understand that. But when he has to come back and defend, because Dan Burn isn't capable of overlapping and then getting back in time, and there's the threat there, you lose a bit from your wingers. You lose a bit from Joe Linton as well, who was more involved in an attacking premise yesterday. He was getting in the faces of the City midfielders because he didn't have to worry about jumping in and filling in to cover the left back whose legs are struggling a little bit because he's 33, and when he gets forward, it takes him a while to get back. So with Lewis Hall in there, all those players were able to concentrate on their game because the no-Hall's got the energy in the legs to get up and get back as well. And that's exactly what he did. He cramped up probably, around the 70th minute mark or something like that, which probably speaks to the fact that he's not fully at his optimum levels of fitness, which is what Eddie Howe was trying to say. But how refreshing it was to have Lewis Hall back from the start. And you can't help but wonder, I know Brentford's been and gone, but if Lewis Hall had started the Brentford game, would we have ever been in that position? I'm not sure we would have been. And I think that's something Eddie Howe probably would look back at and regret that he didn't play Lewis Hall from the start. But that's gone now. Man City's the reset. That's what we all want it to be. But Lewis Hall in that team didn't just help us defensively as well. He massively helped us offensively, and he also helped the wingers really stand up and play their game, as did Tino Livramento on the other side. Now, although Tino's not probably as, prolific or as adventurous as Lewis Hall is in an attacking sense. Tino's got that engine, the pace to get up and down. He frightens the life out of players because he constantly is in the overlap. He's constantly in the overlap. And that's what allows Murphy to tuck inside and get crosses in the box, which is exactly what he did. Crosses into the box for big Nick Voltemada, who really on another day against a lesser goalkeeper probably has a brace in that game as well. The great saves by Donnarumma. Maybe the second one when Harvey Barnes slips him in is a chance he should maybe tuck away in the bottom corner. But Donnarumma was an unbelievable goalkeeper. Bit of a moody bastard, mind you. Doesn't like when things don't go his own way, but an unbelievable goalkeeper nonetheless. And if he wasn't in between the sticks for City yesterday, I think Voltemada gets at least one, if not two goals. So Newcastle could have scored more than just 2 goals against Manchester City, who have been one of the most informed teams in the league of late, who are one of the best teams in European football, who have arguably the best manager of the modern era in Pep Guardiola. Newcastle went toe-to-toe with them. We didn't fear them. We weren't intimidated by them. We were in their face. We were pressing them as much as they were pressing us. Both sides were guilty of spurring pretty straightforward chances in the first half. It could have been bloody 3s each in the first half if everyone had their shooting boots on or the goalkeepers weren't pulling off great saves. But it was exciting to see that from Newcastle, that intensity, the press, the desire to run, to win the ball back, to make something happen was there again. And we haven't seen that for weeks on end. And I said this in the post match. I'll say it again. This is all great, but it means nothing if you just show up against Everton next Sunday in another lethargic performance and don't put it in. This has to be the standard that Newcastle set for themselves. And whilst I understand not playing at home is going to lose a little bit of that kind of intensity and maybe that extra percentage that you find because the crowd are behind you, you still have to play with a level of intensity that you can get the ball off to the team, really push them hard and make them make mistakes to enable your good players to get into position. And I think Eddie Howe right now in the Premier League in particular is going to have to try and get Livramento and Lewis Hall into the team week in, week out, because it isn't just what they give us defensively for pace as well. Doku barely had a kick. Doku's one of the most informed players in the Premier League this season. Tino had him in his pocket. Then they brought on the other lad. Was it Silva, the winger? And he couldn't get a sniff either. He couldn't get a sniff at all. Both the wingers were nullified by Tino Livramento's pace and just energy and stamina. He hasn't played for nearly 2 months, and to put in a performance like that from Tino Livramento was absolutely incredible. Lewis Hall as well on the other side, and bringing those two in massively for me is totally added balance to this side. Balance to the side. It's enabled the other players to concentrate on what they need to do, their main task in the team, creating, scoring, those kind of things, providing, rather than trying to fill in and make up for a player who's not got pace, who's in a position where he's being targeted by opposition players and is constantly being attacked, and you lose 2 or 3 players. I've heard this argument before. This isn't I hate Dan Burn rant that I'm having here, because I love Dan Burn. He's excellent. Arguably, Dan Burn, if he's fit, could go back in at left side and centre half, because Sven Botman has not been in form the last couple of games. But Fabian Schär was incredible when he come in next to Malik Chow. But if you put those 2 young fullbacks in this team with Malik Chow in that back line, whoever he's next to, Sven Botman or Fabian Schär or an informed Dan Burn, if that's your back 4, you will win more games than you will lose games, because not only is it solid defensively, but offensively, it gives you such a threat going the other way, and it makes other teams concerned. Their players can't concentrate on what they want to do. When Kieran Trippier, who doesn't go past the halfway line these days, is there, or when Dan Burn doesn't go past the halfway line because he struggles to get back, or he does go back, he can't get back, when those 2 players are playing, other teams can breathe a little bit easier against us, because there isn't the threat of us going the other way or the wingers cutting inside. And we've seen both of the wingers in the shape of Harvey Barnes and Jacob Murphy have got a really good ability to tuck inside and shoot and score goals and create from the inside channel. And other teams won't be worried about that when Trippier and Burn are playing. So it's amazing to see those 2 lads back, and that's exactly what this team needed. It's like a shot of adrenaline, like sipping from the fountain of youth for Newcastle's team. It really was, and the energy was there for everybody to see. It was absolutely brilliant. Again, I mentioned him in the post-match. I praised him. Malik Chow, unbelievable. Not too long ago, we were chasing Mark Gahey and getting run down the garden path by big-nosed Parish for 70 million quid. Malik Chow looks twice the player Mark Gahey does at 35 million quid. This kid is incredible. Watching him defend against the best number 9 in the world yesterday and make it look effortless was absolutely sensational. And again, the longer he's fit, the more chance we have of winning games, because I'd fancy him to stop a fucking bullet. I really would, let alone a centre forward at the minute. He's absolutely brilliant. Pace, power, composure, cool as fuck. One point did a Cruyff turn at the back and just passed it in midfield like it was nothing. I was sweating. My heart rate was up, but not Malik Chow's, because he's cold as ice. And I love it. He's going to go down one of the best centre halves we've ever got if he keeps playing like this. Absolutely incredible. It really, really is. But what I loved as well, a massive shout out to Harvey Barnes. I'm a big fan of Harvey Barnes. There's a lot of Harvey Barnes, detractors and criticizers in the fan base. But what Harvey Barnes gives you, that Anthony Gordon doesn't necessarily always give you, is end product. Harvey Barnes will either score a goal or an assist a goal. And that's generally what he does. He can do nothing for 65 minutes in a game, but score your goal, create a goal, and you win 2-0. And sometimes players like that can frustrate people because they're not seeing the constant graph from the player. But what Gordon's done of late is he's ran, and that's all great, but nothing ever comes of it. If you want a runner, go watch the Olympics. Don't watch football, because you have to have end product. And when you've got Team Livramento and Lewis Hall out on the wing back positions, they can do a lot of that running. They can do a lot of that pacey running in behind, pulling defenses out. Harvey Barnes can come inside and do what he does best and scores those goals. This version of Harvey Barnes walks into this team over Anthony Gordon, in my opinion. And if Anthony Gordon is back fit, I think he'll play against Marseille, and Barnes will get a rest because they'll need him for the Premier League. But if Gordon is fit to come back, I generally think that he's going to be on the bench, unless Eddie Howe wants to try him on the right-hand side, which is harsh, over Jacob Murphy. But that could very well happen when Anthony Gordon comes back into this side. But big Nick Voldemort, that was one of the best games he's had in a long time because of how high we were as a team. And I really hope that Newcastle have realised that this is the identity that they have to have as a football team. The only time I've ever seen this kind of play from them this season outside of the Champions League was Liverpool, which we narrowly got beat, Arsenal, which we narrowly got beat, and Manchester City, which will have been. Now, they're three of the best teams in the country. They'll arguably finish 1, 2, and 3 most seasons, unless you sign Alexander Isak, and then he's shit, which I'm still rejoicing in. I had to get that one in. But, those are the 3 teams that everybody wants to look to finish above in the Premier League, to win the Premier League. And Newcastle narrowly got beat off 2 and beat one of them as well. And we did it with intensity. We did it with pace. We did it with belief. And that's what Newcastle United need to be. Now, it's okay doing it at home. Away is where we have a real problem. And it's attitude over ability. It's mentality over, consistency in terms of how we play as a team when we're at home. We're the same team in somebody else's stadium than we are in our own stadium. And the lads need to get over this crutch, this issue that they have, where they feel they can't put in those performances away from home. We've played well in parts away from home. If we press Everton high, at their particular stadium, we got the ball back off them and win it, they'll dig in deep against us. I'll get into that in the preview for Everton, but they'll dig in deep against us and they'll want us to come onto them and make something happen. But if we have Livramento and Hall in the full-back positions, pushing us up another 10, 15 yards at the pitch, and we have Harvey Barnes and Jacob Murphy bang at it with Nick Voldemort high where he needs to be, then we should be Everton, because we've got better players. And that's what we need to be doing. We need to have that belief and take that on the road with Marseille coming up and Everton next week. But this was a great return to what has taken Newcastle United from relegation fodder to Champions League. It's that intensity, it's that belief, it's that pace, that power, that never say die attitude to win the ball back. And it doesn't matter who you're playing against, whether it be Erling Haaland or whether it be, I don't know, bloody Ricky Lambert. Not that we're playing against him this season, but you get the contrast. Doesn't matter who you're playing against. Get into them, as we say, win the ball back and do what you do best, Newcastle. And it was a joy to watch it yesterday. And I really hope that this is the moment where we turn the tables, where we go, right, that's what we need to do. There's so much football coming over the next few weeks. It's imperative that Eddie Howe rotates the squad. And in many ways, Marseille coming up Tuesday is not as important as Everton. The league has to take precedent now. We have to climb this league table. And I think with Team Livramento and Lewis Hall on the side, we will do that. Shout out for Bruno Guimaraes. He was excellent in this game, but he always turns up in these big games. Do it against Everton, Bruno, as well. We need you. When Bruno shows up, everybody else shows up as well. But it was an amazing performance, and I hope that Newcastle United are back now where they need to be. That intense team, that team that is just in your face, wins the ball back. And even when they concede, they go at it again, they go again, they go again. You know, when they get the first goal, they go again, get the second goal, get the third goal. That's what made us so good under Eddie Howe. We can get back there. We've got the players to get back there. We just need the attitude and the belief, and it was there against City yesterday, and we hope it's going to be there for the weeks to come. But let us know in the comments below what you guys think about this whole situation. Was Hall and Livramento coming back key to it all? You know, were you happy with what you saw? Does Harvey Barnes stay in the team over Anthony Gordon, in your opinion? Does Gordon come in the right, or does Murphy stay there? Obviously, we've got no choice with Big Nick because we don't have any of the centre forwards. But do you think this is where Newcastle need to be now? This is how they need to play against all the teams that they play against. That intensity, get in the faces, get in front in games, get a second, get a third, you know, before you start to shut up shop. Because I was very impressed with what I saw. It was a throwback to what's made us great under Eddie Howe, and long may it continue. Thanks for watching, everybody. Remember to like and subscribe below. Help get us to 12,000. We're only about 40 or something away. So smash that button. Help get us there. We'll hopefully be at 12K before December's even through. And thank you very much for your support. And thanks for watching. Loads of football coming this week. We'll have the match preview for Marseille. We'll have the post-match after Marseille, preview for Everton, and then post-match after Everton. And such a busy football schedule. Keep it evermore, guys. Have a belter, and we'll see you later. Cheers.
Heroes celebrate. They have done it.